Hi guys, welcome to Warwickshire Outdoors. Today I've come out to look for some horseshoe fungus. I did find some when I was here a couple of weeks ago, and I collected 2 lots, but I've lost them. Now, I know I put them somewhere, and it wasn't me who moved them, so it must be somebody else. Anyway, I need to come out and look for some more, because I want to do something I've never actually done before, and that's process some Amadou so I can make it into Tinder. So join me, see if I can find some. I'm going to see if I can remember where I found it. So I'm going to go walk around the woods, see if I can find some. Catch me soon. And what do you know, I can see a fallen birch there. I think there's some on that fallen birch trunk there. Let's go and have a look. Well guys, I've managed to find the spot. You can see these trunks here, they're kind of dead. It's got horseshoe fungus all the way up it. Let's have a look. They're only small, but they're within reach. This is the trunk I just saw from a distance. So let's get my bag off and see what we can do. I've got the bush box out of me today. Got some coffee on the go, get a fire going, and I'll see if I can get some of that fungus off that branch. Fire's going. Even though it's so wet, there's lots of dry wood to find. So guys, this is what I've been able to get. I've got this piece here. I need to get this bark off the back, but you can see there's going to be a seam of Amadou all the way around there. There's some all the way across here and all in there. There's a small bit here, but there's a nice seam going around all at the edge. I've got this big piece here. There's lots of Amadou in there, and if I scrape this bark off and cut it down, there might be probably quite a big seam in there. That's quite a big piece. So I think that's enough for me to be getting on with. It helped having a good knife to get those big pieces off the tree, but they come off fairly easy with a sturdy knife. I'm just removing some of the bark and outer shell on this. You can see quite a rich vein of brown orangey Amadou in there. I've also taken some of the bark off the back of here, and there's quite a lot in there too. This big one has an awful lot in there. That's just a big piece of Amadou itself there. Sorry, I'm getting smoke in my face here. So as you can see, and I'm just going to start taking that outer layer of shell off. So I'm going to sit here for a while doing that. I can imagine this is going to be quite time consuming, and in these modern times of, you know, quick fire lighters and people on YouTube who time how quickly it takes to boil a pot of water, you just have to sit down and have the patience. When people first started using this was a matter of life and death for them, so they would take the time to do it properly. They'd be a lot more skilled at it than me. since this is the first time I've had a go at this. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I've got a wood burning stove at home, and I've been burning quite a bit of barch in there, so I've got all the ashes at the bottom of the wood burning stove for me to use, because what you do is you take the brown Amadou out of this, and then you can either boil it in ash water, which I'll show you when I get around to doing it. I'll do that at home because all the ashes at home. And or I've seen some people do it on YouTube where they just leave it in the ash water for say 4 days or whatever, and it creates like a lime solution. And then once you get the Amadou out, you dry it out, and then you soften it up by bashing it, and then you tease out the fibres a little bit, and then it's ready to go, and it should work like char cloth. So he says, not being an expert. Have a look on YouTube, there's loads of films of people making it who are a lot more expert than I am. As I say, this is the first time that I've had a go at this, so we'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting to see how it works. But I think it's time I had a coffee, I think. I have to say, guys, this is a more fiddly job than what I thought it would be. So you need to have patience, I think, and you need to make sure you remove all the stuff that you don't need and keep all the stuff that you do need. You just have to be very careful. It might mean that I only get small pieces to start with. And I hope you note that I'm leaning forward with elbows on knees. Always recommended if you're working like this. There you go. Rich, shiny black coffee. So I've been working on this bit for quite a while now, and there we go, a big piece of Amadou. I think I've managed to get most of the shell and dark pieces off, but that's quite a good piece. So I'm going to carry on trying and see if I can get any more from these other pieces that I've got. You do need a good sharp knife though. So guys, I've been sitting here for ages. I've been carving and carving and carving. The smaller pieces didn't wield anything at all because they're so thin. This big piece is really good though. There's absolutely loads in here. So I'm going to continue with this. There's a really loud noise coming from the field next door. I haven't got a clue what it is, so I'm probably going to go and finish this off at home. So let me show you what I've ended up with. There's a nice piece there. There's a piece there. I haven't finished processing this, but there's absolutely loads in here. Look at that. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, so that's it. Really enjoyed doing it. Never done it before. Haven't finished yet, of course. There's still plenty of work for me to do. The light's fading here now, and so I'm gonna go home and continue this at home. I've got all the ash at home, as I said, in the fireplace. And I'll once I've finished processing that big piece of fungus, I'll show you what I've got left. and then join me at the next stage. So see you soon. That noise in the field next door has now stopped. Now it's time for me to go home. So guys, here we are. It's a day later, and here we are in Warwickshire Outdoors HQ, in other words, the kitchen. So this is what I've been left with, a real big thick piece there. These two came off that big last piece of fungus I was working on. That's really thick. There's an awful lot there. I've got that big piece there and these two smaller pieces. So I'm going to go and gather some ashes from the fire. I'm going to get this simmering for an hour in the ashes and some water. Join me for that. So here we are. Got some ashes from the fire in now. I'm not quite sure how much you're supposed to put in, so I've just whacked a load in. See if it works. Nothing like experimentation, eh? If you can hear some strange noises come from next door, it's because Mrs. Outdoors is watching some a film about a serial killer. So I do apologise about that. So here we go. Let's get it on the heat. Put some water in it. Now, apparently I should boil this for about an hour, or I could leave it for several days. Let's whack the heat on, shall we? So that's well and truly going now, so I've got to keep that going for about an hour, I think. Now, maybe you can help me. Sorry about the boiling noise in the background. I've been trying to read up on this, and some people say you should boil it for hours, some people say you should boil it for an hour, some people say you should soak it for days. So what I'm going to do is perhaps boil it for approximately an hour and then let it just leave it for a day or two and then see what happens. It's a case of experimenting, I guess, but if you have an experience of this or know better than me on how to do it, let me know in the comments. Okay, that's been boiling for just under an hour. So I'm just going to leave that now, maybe a day or two, and see what happens. Join me then. So it is now Sunday morning, so this has been soaking for what, 2-3 days, and I've got it out this morning, but this piece I've bashed with the back of the knife and teased it apart a little bit. So with this piece, and this piece has worked pretty well. So let me show you what I'm doing. So with the back of the knife here, I'm just, I suppose it's like tenderising a piece of steak, I guess, because it actually does feel a little bit like steak. So I'm just tenderising a little bit and then teasing those fibres apart. And I thought the thicker pieces like this, because this is the other half of that, would be tougher than the smaller ones, but as a matter of fact, I'm finding the thicker pieces easier to manipulate, and the less likely to tear. So I'm managing to tease it out a little bit and just see if I can just stretch it out, and it's doing pretty well. Yeah, it's still quite dark with the lye solution. I presume once it starts to dry out, it'll revert back to its kind of orangey brown colour that it normally is. This piece is really nice to tease apart. So I'm just trying to tease it apart and spread it out and loosen up those fibres. And I'll keep giving it a bash. I was watching a video earlier and somebody said you don't need to bash it too hard, but I'm actually finding in these thicker pieces, obviously, it's worth giving it a good bash, actually. Like a nice thick piece of steak. So I'll continue to do this, and I'll show you when I start that bit. So here is the finished product. I think I could perhaps tease it a little bit more, but I'm going to see how it goes. I can always tease it a little bit more later. I think I just need to leave it dry out now. That's stretched nice and thin, that piece. This is a big piece. I'm going to just keep stretching it and stretching it. It is very, very thick. I managed to get these bits quite nicely stretched and thin. That's nicely pliable. You can see it stretching there, look. I can still work that a little bit more. As a matter of fact, the less slimy and wet it is, the more, I think I'm feeling the more stretchy it becomes, actually. That's interesting. But that's stretched out into quite a big piece now. So I'm going to let them dry. That's quite thin. This is quite thin and stretched out. I'm going to leave these to dry. I want them to completely dry out. I don't know how long that's going to take, a good day or two maybe, I don't know. But I'll come back when that's been done. And I've also, because I've been bashing this, muddy water has splashed everywhere, so I better wipe that down quickly before somebody else sees it. So I've decided to put it on the radiator to dry out. See how that works. Some people say that it dries hard like a chamois leather. I guess it's that sort of consistency, I guess. But we'll see what happens. This is all a big experiment for me. Well, now we're outside, guys. It's weeks ago since I shot the other bits of this film, or actually made up the Amadou and stuff. And now we're out in the woods. It is now the 18th of January. It's 1 degree. Happy New Year to you all. Hope you've all had a good holiday period, Christmas and New Year and stuff. So I've come out to scrape up some of the Amadou and get it working. I didn't want to try it in the house because I thought it was kind of a false kind of environment. However, I'll tell you a story. I couldn't wait to try to see if it worked, and I scraped a bit up, got my flint and steel, struck it. After a few strikes it took, and I managed to get a glowing ember. So I thought, okay, is that just a freak? So I tried it again, got a glowing ember again. So I thought, brilliant, okay. I thought, I wish I'd have saved that for the camera. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, my brother came round. My brother's like into trees and stuff like that, and I was talking to him about how I made the Amadou, and I said, I'll show you how it works. Anyway, I got a piece of Amadou. I was in the kitchen at home. I roughed it up and I struck and struck and struck and struck, and could I get any of it lit? I just could not. I couldn't get an ember. I couldn't get a spark to catch. We both tried. We did it again and again and again and again. So I thought, oh, okay, but it took really easily the first 2 times I tried it. So that was a real freak. So I thought, I'm going to come out and try it again, rough it up, and see how it goes. And I thought I need to come out to the woods for the first time in 2025. Happy 2025 to everybody. Anyway, I've got some coffee on the go, and once I've had my coffee, I'll scrape it up and we'll see if it takes a spark. So I found this sealable bag. I've got some birch bark and that in here. and I put my Amadou in here. So let's get a bit out. There we go. So there we go. So I'm going to rough up a piece of this with the edge of my knife, put it on the flint, and we'll see how that goes. Good luck to me. That's fluffing up quite nicely. I've only got a small piece. I don't know whether I need a bigger piece, but when I did it before I only used a tiny piece and it caught really well. That's fluffing up really nicely. That should be more than enough to catch a spark. Look at that. Right, let's see if that works. Right, a confession. I've just been to my bag to get my flint and steel out, and guess what? I've left it at home. Oh God, back to the kitchen. I think next time I come out, I'll just do a straightforward camp out video. So, a quick dash back to Warwickshire Outdoors HQ, and here we are. So I've just fluffed up another piece of Amadou with the knife. I've got quite a bit of area there fluffed up with the knife, so I'm going to see if I can drop a spark on there, see if it works. Oh, smell. Oh, there we go. Look at this. Look at that. I got an ember. There we go. There we go. It works. So there you go. Proof it does work. I think I need to get a better piece of flint. I need to flatten this and get a sharper edge, because most of my sharp edges have worn down. That didn't help. It took me a good 5 minutes, I reckon, of perseverance. I'm not getting anywhere near as many sparks off this as what I used to. As you can see, most of the edges are worn down. I think I need to try and split it and just get some sharper edges. But there we go. Look at that. How cool is that? Another thing I found, that the sparks, I put the rough side eventually facing down, so when the sparks came up it tended to catch underneath. Normally you put a bit of charred cloth in there and it takes up sparks straight away. Yeah, I normally get more sparks than that, but it literally 2 strikes and charred cloth goes. It takes a lot more perseverance with the Amadou I found. But I managed to get it working. I'm so chuffed because I thought the first two times I did it, as I say, I did work. I thought it was just a fluke because it's been really hard for me to get it going again, but I managed to get it going again today. It has been drying out for quite a few weeks, so probably it's a lot drier now maybe. And I need to work on this to get some more sparks flying up. But yeah, I faced it rough ways down and it caught a spark underneath. I could smell it. And when I turned it over, I could see that it had caught the spark. So yeah, there we go. An ember from Amadou. I'm really, really chuffed about that. So if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not an expert. I'm just an average guy who tries things to see if they work. It's taken me weeks to get this far just to make the film because I've been so busy as usual. But there you go. So please persevere, guys. So guys, thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm not an expert in this stuff. It's just something I had to go at. It's worked. I managed to create an ember. It's not as easy to get an ember going as charred cloth. A couple of strikes on that and you get an ember with charred cloth. That took me a good few minutes to striking and striking and striking. Then I turned it round and then it did work after a while, after striking for a couple of minutes. As I said, I need to work that piece of flint to get a sharper piece of flint, I think, going forward. But yeah, it's worked. There we go. Perseverance, works wonders. Thanks very much for watching. You take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.